around nature, societal issues, education, business, and innovation. EIN educative, innovative, and nature centric.
I hope you've had a fantastic day so far, and you've not had any reason to regret you venturing into the activity of the day, or perhaps whatever it is you get involved. Because I know you must have been engaged with something very legit, and even at the heart of it should be your consideration, special consideration for nature. And of course, I keep saying, and I will keep saying it, that if we do not take care of nature, nature has a way of taking care of itself, and we may end up crying victim because nature will have a way of, just evicting some people who are not so friendly, or organisms rather, who are not so friendly with her to say that it survives. But then, will you be there to see what would be the consequences of such action by nature? That is a story you may never want to to tell. Ladies and gentlemen, sometime about last week on the show, we had we're supposed to have a guest to talk about how important it is for us to integrate climate education into our school curriculum. But unfortunately, we had some technical issues that she could not come on the program. But we promise that definitely that conversation will hold. Perhaps in the course of the week, or maybe before the weekend runs out, we should have that conversation. But in the meantime, we had brought a conversation to you, an advocacy sort of an awareness about what had happened in the Niger Delta region of Nigeria, where um, a ship laden with about 800,000 liters of crude was seized and bombed with the crude being spilled into the ocean. And of course, we talked about how the damage it will cause to the ecosystem. Even when we are talking, we've been complaining about ecocide of the international oil organizations or international oil companies, if you want to call it. So we, the people, who are still crying out foul or foul play and all of that, are the ones also, causing this havoc to nature. So we ask and we condemn again in clear terms that that act was, not proper, and we want to call on the authority to say that they do the right thing by nature. So let's hope that yeah, that people are being held accountable for such act. And then today on the show, we'll be having a very interesting session. But before then, there's a movement in Africa, across Africa, currently going on. It's a youth champion movement, but being spearheaded by the Pan African Climate Justice Alliance across Africa, and of course that is headed in Nigeria by the Climate and Sustainable Development Network of Nigeria. It is the Youth for Adaptation Finance in Africa, and the essence of this is to make sure that the young people across Africa, come together, put their forces together to see that we have an adaptation finance that is equitable, that is fair, that is sufficient, to cater for the adaptation needs of Africans. And we've been talking about, that there's an issue of mitigation, and then there's the issue of the adaptation. While the people who has caused this havoc are pushing for mitigation, how about us adapting to what you've caused already? So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a force. I encourage every young person out there. You may want to be a YAV ambassador, that's a Youth for Adaptation Finance Africa ambassador. And you can send us a message. Go to any of our social media handle on Twitter at TV_AIN, or on Facebook at AIN TV, and then or even on YouTube, send us a message on YouTube at AIN TV, and then you will have your questions answered. Or if you cannot reach out to us directly, you can reach out to if you're in Nigeria, you can reach out to Climate and Sustainable Development Network, who are the ones coordinating the activities here in Nigeria, or you can reach out to the Continental Network, which is the Pan African Climate Justice Alliance, a movement that I encourage every young person, to come on board. And then to our viewers, thank you for always, keeping faith with us. We sincerely appreciate it. So you could, access this conversation on YouTube at ANTV, and on Facebook at ANTV, and of course it's running on my personal page. And then on Blogu Initiative for Sustainable Development page, and it's also running on LinkedIn on my personal handle there on LinkedIn. So you feel free to go on any of these platforms, and then you would have access to this conversation. So today we are having a very interesting discussion, and it's about I think in about a couple of days from now, I think on the 12th, we'll be having the International Youth Day. And the theme for this year anchors around green skills, green jobs, for sustainable future and all of us. And we keep talking. How do we enhance? How do we contribute to these green jobs, or what are even green jobs? And so we thought it pertinent that we bring in an expert in the field who will be talking to us on the climate smart agriculture. I think I've got to know him for quite some time and the things he's been doing. So I'll be bringing up our guest for today. His name is Stephen Nja, and Stephen Nja is the Executive Director of Climate Smart Agriculture Initiative, based in Nigeria, Cross River to be precise. Mr. Stephen, welcome to Environmental Resort on TV.
Thank you for having me, sir.
How is Cross River today?
Cross River is very well. The weather is clement. Everything is going on fine.
Okay, let me tilt a bit from the conversation we're supposed to be having. I understand that Cross River still so far in Africa, and especially Nigeria, and but there's been some issues of concern where it's been tampered with by some persons, either legally or illegally. So is there anything you want to say about that?
Sure. Cross River has been known for her contribution to GHGs, greenhouse gases, and all that. But helping greenhouse gases, I meant to say. But in recent time, people have been taking advantage of this very important natural resource. I'm talking about the forest, and they are encroaching. And it's very threatening, it's very fearful, because if these natural resources is being removed, we are sure going to suffer. Like you said in your introduction, that we might not be here to tell the story. I strongly believe in that, except something is done. And I want to encourage organizations like csdev.net, who are championing this cause in Nigeria, and then TV stations like yours, who are projecting, who are advocating, who are taking this message to places. I want to believe that we are getting there. We are getting there. We are pushing it. We've been going to villages to talk with them on the dangers of destroying this ecosystem. Some are listening, others are still proving stubborn. But I believe strongly that the message will go through someday.
Thank you so very much. Amazing work you're doing there, Mr. Stephen. Okay, so let's move into the subject matter of the climate smart agriculture. If you want to put it to a layman out there, what would you say is the climate smart, or what are those practices you would say are climate smart practices when it comes to agriculture?
Okay, a good one. Simply put, the thing what they do for agriculture when they damage the ecosystem, when they cause wahala, where Oyibo man they call climate change.
Okay, I like you. Okay, you have the floor, please.
Okay, so now those activities, they're different small from the way we don't do them before. In those days, our great-grandparents, our parents, they farm a particular pattern. And because they farm a particular pattern, they believe, say, for you to get good crops, you go need to go inside, go cut forest before that thing, the crop go good. So waiting climate smart agriculture, they try to pass across, be say, you don't need to cut forest. You don't need to even buy a large expanse of land. Or what you need to do, be say, understand small things where if you farm around your house.
Okay.
Around your house, if you farm, if you do your vegetable, if you even grow yam for inside your compound, and it
Okay.
go come out enough where you go feed your family and even sell some.
Wow.
So now, if we say climate smart, now big grammar, we just dey try to say you fit do things around you when no go destroy the environment, like by way of bush burning, when no go destroy the environment by way of deforestation, when no go cuckoo cause erosion and other problems. Now just waiting climate smart agriculture mean.
I like the way you're putting it in pidgin, and I think that makes it very very common for anyone out there to understand, and I appreciate you for that. Okay, now let's get to delve a little bit deeper. There are concerns that if you don't use chemical to farm, that your farm produce will not yield properly, and then some people on the other hand would say that if you use chemicals to plant, that your farm produce will be watery. But let's talk from the perspective of the environment and the ecosystem. Would you encourage people, to keep using chemicals to farm, or does climate smart agriculture discourage the use of these chemicals?
Sure, climate smart agriculture discourages seriously the use of chemicals. Now, these are the reasons. Now, when you spray, chemicals are toxic. They are meant to kill grasses, for instance. And these grasses have life. Underneath the soil, there are microorganisms. In fact, let me get back. These kind of teachings are meant for farmers. So let me go back to using broken. Now, if you till farm, you go see small worm for ground. Now, those worms, they get work where they work. They create holes for the soil where oxygen, they waka, they enter soil where plant root they carry. But when you use chemical, con spray, the chemical go destroy that worm. It go destroy cricket. It go destroy termites. When it destroy those things, the hole where oxygen supposed they pass enter ground go down close. So that way, now one way where we say chemical no good. Secondly, when you use chemical go kill the grass all for ground. The ground go come dey open. Where rain fall, it go come wash am. That one they call erosion. And then thirdly, that chemical where they use, even you yourself where they use the chemical, some go touch your hand, some go touch your leg. It they cause wetin they call skin trouble, or you call it irritation. And that is also injurious, because this is our climate smart matter what we they talk. No be only for plants. Now for also human being. You know, go cuckoo go plant everything. At the end of the day, you can't die, can't chop am. So chemical, good at all.
Okay. So, Mr. Steve, you're just making this conversation quite interesting for me. But away from that, you have said something quite interesting. You're talking about how it affects life, and not just the other kind of lives, the human life too. So, what are the disadvantages of people not practicing climate smart agriculture, especially that it has to do with human lives?
Yes, the danger plenty. The danger plenty. Now, let me use cocoa as a case study.
Okay.
Now, when you spray using some of these very powerful chemicals, now the chemical smell. Number one, our farmers need to even wear their PPE.
By PPE, what do you mean?
Personal protective equipment. They need to wear them.
Okay.
That equipment is supposed to come with overall. You wear rain boot, you wear nose masks, you cover your eye, everything. But our farmer, they go tell you, say, Oga, that thing save na money, it dey cost. We no go do am, we just do them like that. When they go spray this chemical, they come breathe in all that chemical, enter their body. Some of them go even still dey farm, they come they feel dizzy. They go cuckoo go buy one tin of milk, they carry drink. And this chemical get power where they kill them installmentally. That is why for our local area here, we don't hear say people get cancer, people get some nasty diseases where we say they need even fit treats. All this now the effect of the chemicals where don't enter their body over a period of time. So, and at the end of the day, the money where the cuckoo feel say they don't save, they go end up spend them all and still die cuckoo join them. So the danger they plenty. Because of time, make we just discuss just that few.
Okay, thank you very much. My people, you've heard from the expert himself that they are using chemicals to farm. Of course, that it's not a climate smart way to farm. Of course, and in the age that we are talking about the impact of climate change and where the reality is actually upon us. And then, so not just about the environment now, but you, the person who is practicing this harmful sort of form of agriculture. So you see, the impact is there on the environment and also on you as the person. So thank you so very much, Mr. Steve. We'd like to say very big thank you to our partners and sponsors who has always made sure that we have this conversation. We have this conversation, and it's not been easy, but we appreciate them a whole lot for always making sure that we have this conversation. The Blue Green Initiative for Sustainable Development. Thank you so very much. And then we have the Climate and Sustainable Development Network of Nigeria. Thank you for the amazing support you've been giving us at IEIN TV. And thank you to Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance, who is making sure that youth voices are heard across Africa and, of course, across the globe. And thank you so very much. And to you, our viewers, you've been the reason why we keep doing what we do. So we do not take you for granted. We appreciate you a whole lot. Thank you, and thank you. So back to our guest. We are trying to get him back online. We've been talking about climate smart agriculture, and Mr. Stephen Ja, who is the executive director of Climate Smart Agriculture Initiative based in Cross River State, Nigeria, has been sharing some insights on why we should not practice the other harmful kind of agriculture, but see how we could go the sustainable way. And he shared something very touching rather, where he talked about why we that even the women, the people that are practicing this other harmful kind of agriculture, apart from the effect on the environment, that it also has a deadly effect on the people. And it gets me worried. So if we know all of these things, why do we keep on practicing? And there are a lot of dangers out there, and you find out that we are the people causing this harm to ourselves, and we even while hurting nature as well. And you find out that people will get sick and may not know exactly what the problem is, but if you find out further, you realize that it is as a result of the kind of agricultural practice they've been undergoing in the past, or perhaps in the present, that is having the effect on them. Welcome back, Mr. Stephen.
Thank you.
Okay, so we get to talk about how people could embrace the climate smart agriculture. What are those things, or how do you think people could embrace this climate smart agriculture? What are those things you want to advise, or you feel people should do? Not advice yet. Those things you feel people should do to become a part of the people practicing climate smart agriculture.
All right, thank you. One of the things is education. Now, by education, I mean by way of training, and then making people see reasons why. For the past 3 years, we've been going from one community to the other in Etung local government, Ikom local government, Obanliku, Bekwara, and even Akwa, all in Cross River State. Now, what is our message? Our message is, you don't need to cut the forest to grow food. That's first. And then secondly, we're letting them know that agriculture can go back to becoming the mainstay of our economy. And in doing that, we don't need to get involved in practices that are injurious to our health and also the planet. So far, we have been able to get them to understanding because some persons have already started smart agriculture. Now, last month, I had a training in Calabar on the effect of deforestation on communities. That training was organized by CSD.net. By the grace of God, I was a speaker in that conference. I told them that in every house, there is supposed to be a compost pit. Now, what that will do is it will largely help sanitize our environment. You see, it's all encompassing. You see, it's all encompassing. You see, it's
okay,
all
so we are trying to bring down this. Okay, yeah, fine. Please go. You have the floor, please.
So yes, every compound should have a compost pit. Now, all the items used in the house by way of waste should be separated into two. The first part, you have all the plastics, and the other ones, the degradable waste. Those ones should be emptied into the compost pit. When that is done over time, that serves as manure for the crops. And that they can also use a part of their compounds as farms. They can grow Telfera occidentalis, that is ugu, what the local man in the market calls ugu. They can grow it there. They can grow water leaf. They can grow potato in cement bags. These are trainings we are ready to come out to communities, to people who are interested, and educate them. Then for people who still use their farmlands, instead of clearing and burning, they can clear and put all the cut down grasses, shrubs, trees in a heap. In 3 to 5, 6 months, they begin to decay. They can scoop from the mount or the heap, whatever measure they used in saving them, to begin to fertilize their crops. That way, like you said in your introduction, they will produce crops that will not be watery and they would last longer, you know, and they are preserved. That's one. Secondly, we need the government too to be involved by way of policy formulation. We've been advocating and saying, look, stop cutting down forest, stop cutting down wood for timber and all that. Yes, in some communities, they have been able to implement it at the community level, but they need the government to come in and make it official. I would like to use this opportunity and talk about the community Edo. Last month, when I engaged them, I had a training with them on forest conservation. I was taken to a forest that is being protected by the community.
Oh, wow.
It's called Ekunte Akumabal. That forest is believed to house their deities, their gods. So nobody goes in there. In fact, there are fines. If you go in there and cut a tree, you pay a cow. There are different fines for different offenses. So because of that, that particular forest has been highly protected. You know, now I asked them, how many forests were they having before now? They said about 7. Funny enough, sir, the other 6 were cut down because of ignorance. I then told them, I said, if you were able to destroy the other ones, you are leaving just one. Your community is developing. What is going to regulate the kind of air you breathe? Because that's one of the things the forest does. Someone want to tell you, okay, when you go into the forest, then you will produce good quality food. We tell them no. Show us a land that is already degraded according to your works, and practice what is called the best management practices and sustainable, and so those land and produce enough for home use and commercial purpose.
Okay, fantastic thing you're doing, Mr. Steve. Yeah, I think your signal is becoming a bit, messy. I don't know what that means, but we appreciate it a whole lot, and of course the things you're doing there in Cross River State, and of course to see that there's a community that are still doing the community protected area, and that takes me to what we've been advocating for, where we have used the traditions, our culture, our customs, our norms, to protect nature. Of course, I that brought to mind what I had shared with a friend some time ago. Said if our politicians, for instance, are not giving Bible and Quran to swear during their oath of office, and are taking the traditional way, then Nigeria will be a very good place. So I'm imagining what is happening in a door day in Cross River because of the things that they're trying to use tradition to achieve. And of course, you've seen that the impact has been enormous. So, because of time, we're actually running out of time, and we want to have this conversation within the time frame of 30 minutes. I would like you to share simple steps, simple steps that people out there, because people may just be hearing about climate smart agriculture. So I would like you to share just a few steps, if there are up to 7, if there are just 2 or 3 of them, that people can take. You've talked about the education, and then you've talked about how the community can get involved in protecting protecting nature. So what are those steps, or what are those things we can do to get it to start? If, for instance, I want to start a climate smart or adopt this climate smart agricultural culture, sort of, what are those things I need to do? What do I need to put in place to get started?
All right. A very quick one. First, you need a space, no matter how small it is. You need a space. Now, it could be in your compound, very close to your building. Secondly, you need a compost pit, because climate smart agriculture does not even encourage the use of fertilizer. That's secondly. Thirdly, you need a source of water. Since you're doing it within your compound, your source of water can also serve. Then further, you need seed, whether they are improved seed or not. The local seed you see around the market, if well cultivated, will serve the purpose. I think those 4 are okay. You also need cement bags. Okay. If you want to have them around your house, you need cement bags. Now, this in these cement bags, you can grow your yam tuber.
Okay, so does this cement bag depend on the kind of crop you want to cultivate?
Yes. Now, the cement bag will serve for tubers like potato and yam. Then you also need maybe 100 kg bag. You cut it into 2 halves, fill earth in it, and grow your water leaf. Okay. Because by the time you fill your earth, you cut it in 2 halves. Like lying it down, you cut it. You cut the part where the earth is not. You leave it level. It becomes a bed automatically. So on that bed, you can grow your water leaf. On that bed, you can grow your Telfera occidentalis, that is fluted pumpkin, ugu. On that bed, you can also grow your pepper, your tomato, and all that. These things do not require a lot of space. You see that you don't have to go to the market again. And then where the compost would help is when it comes to fertilizing. And if you want to make it very, very complete, you have a small cage where you grow your beds. The bed droppings are fantastic when it comes to growing vegetables. So those are the 4, 5 basic things you need to grow for those of you who are in the city. Then for those of us who are in the village, you can also have a compost pit. Now, we don't need cement bags because we have arable land. We don't need cement bags. You just need a compost pit, and then You need to clear your land. Don't burn. Don't burn. Gather the grasses. They serve as compost. And then fertilize your crop. Weed it periodically. And it comes out well.
Mm, mm. Thank you so very much, Mr. Steve. I thought you would not want to share that part because we didn't have to consult you, but thank you for your sincerity of papers.
Yeah, yeah, yes.
But
Actually, I was going to say that's consultancy knowledge.
but we got you, so thank you so very much. And I would like you on the note of finality, you to just share your final thought as we call it a wrap for today.
Yes, climate change has come to stay. And until we all, I'm saying all, everybody has a role to play. The child on the street that drinks pure water and throws it anyhow, the man who parades himself with a bottle of water and empties it and throws the container anyhow, the man who goes into the forest to cut down wood has a role, has this mentality, has this thing to do. Ensure that you don't do those things that will hurt the environment. It's coming back to us. When you empty your dustbin into a canal, that dirt is going to block a canal somewhere. And that canal, because it's a waterway, water will find its way into someone's compound and the community will be flooded. Who caused it? It's you. There wouldn't have been climate change if not for our negative attitude towards nature. My final word is, you have a role to play. I have a role to play. Let's put ourselves together and say no to climate change.
Thank you so very much, Steve. We sincerely appreciate you for your time, and of course, all of us, we have a role to play. I hope that when next we want to have you talk to us on your TV, you will always be there, sir.
I will, certainly.
Thank you so very much. I just need to extract that commitment from you. We sincerely appreciate you, and do have a nice evening, Mr. Steve.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that will be it today with Mr. Steve, who came to share his expert knowledge on climate smart agriculture. And that was what exactly we needed to talk about today. But remember, earlier on the show, I had talked about an initiative being it's a youth-led initiative, but being an initiative of Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance and being spearheaded in Nigeria by Climate and Sustainable Development Network, and that is a huge adaptation finance in Africa. So it's a movement that I call everyone to come on board to see that they get involved. We demand equitable, fair, and climate finance, or adaptation finance rather, that is enough, of course, to take care of the many years of damage, the many years of ecocide, the many years of environmental catastrophe that has been caused upon Africa. Do know that Africa as a whole contribute very, very little, so very infinitesimal to what is being encountered globally. But then we face the brunt of it. There are places in Africa that is going through serious issues of even in Nigeria. We are talking about drought in the north, we are talking about flooding in the south, and then we are talking about so many issues with regards to environmental issues, climate change, and there are issues of perpetual ecocide. We are in the Niger Delta here, where we have the oil exploitation activities. And so what are the commitments? What are we doing? What are we doing to make sure that we conserve nature? So and how are we adapting to this? What are the efforts that we make to see that the people who are suffering from the impact of climate change adapt? Like I think at COP27, there was a sort of a process that was initiated for reparation for loss and damage. But what is going to happen? What are we expecting going forward into COP28 in November, December this year? So our voices must be heard. The young people come on board and then make sure that you make sense out of this, and say that we demand and get adaptation finance that is fair for Africa. And do not forget, the issue of loss and damage is still very much on the front burner, and we must see that we get this to the right authorities, and we see that we do not sit behind, we do not lay back, we do not sit on the fence to in demanding for most of these things that we truly need for Africa. That would be the size of it today on environmental research. Do not forget we've been on climate smart agriculture, and it's a continuous talk because there are so many dimensions. That was just an introductory part. So whenever time will permit us, and then we have the resource person's time, we'll always bring him or her on board to share some experiences and stories around climate smart agriculture. Thank you so very much to our sponsors and partners for making sure that we always have this program come on screen every week and every time there is an opportunity for us to talk to you. We'd like to say a very big thank you to Blue Green Initiative for Sustainable Development, Climate and Sustainable Development Network, and Pan African Climate Justice Alliance, who's been our rock solid partners to see that we have this program running for ever since we started. Thank you so very much, everyone. And thank you to our guest today, Mr. Stephen Jao, came to share his expert knowledge today on climate smart agriculture. Thank you. We do not take your time for granted. And to you, especially, who has kept fed. I would like to say a very big thank you to Ekomo too, who stopped by on our LinkedIn page to say well, thank you very much. And then to let me get the name right. I want to get the name right. Abu Monday. Yeah, thank you so very much, Mr. Abu Monday, for being a part of the conversation today. And to every other person, why I had to mention those two is that they drop a comment. So if you want your name mentioned on our live feed, do always stop by to drop a comment, and we would, as of course, my name is Ediong Senyin Dunobong, and we want to encourage you to please continuously do good by nature. For when we do good by nature, nature would do good by us. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being a part of the show today. My name is Ediong Senyin Dunobong. We see when we come your way again next time. Good night.
This is EAN TV, your one-stop TV space for conversations around nature, societal issues, education, business, and innovation. EIN